Thanks for checking out this video. This is the 1992 installment of the 1990s horror movie Superlatives series I am doing in collaboration with your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete. You know the drill. Finish this video out to get my picks and my reasons for my picks. Then hit the description or hit the link in my description to your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete's channel. Watch his video. Give both of our videos likes. Subscribe to both our channels if you haven't. Hit the notification bell button for our channels if you haven't. And yeah, then come back to my channel, go to the community tab and vote on whose picks you like the most or whose picks lined up with yours the most or whatever. This is just a fun thing. We're doing it for every year, plus there'll be like an ultimate one that could end up being a tiebreaker. We'll see. But anyway, let me go ahead and get into my picks for 1992. Most Amazing may not come as a surprise to people, but it was the first time I've actually seen this film. It's been on my list for a long time to get to, and that is Bram Stoker's Dracula, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. It looks amazing, let's be honest. If you've ever seen this film, it's undeniable that the film looks incredible. Visually, insanely engaging. Sure, it's an old story that's been done a million times. It's literally the story of Dracula, but it's, for me, the most entertaining version I have ever seen in my life, and it looks amazing, and the performances are great. Everyone comments on how amazing Gary Oldman is as Dracula in this, but I also believe that everyone did a really good job. I mean, I was even pretty impressed with Keanu Reeves' performance in this as Harker, sorry, and he... You know, you usually think of him in a different role, in a different style of acting, but he really brought it in this film, and it's just, everyone's on that level, acting-wise, in this film. It's very well done, and I mean, Anthony Hopkins is in it, too. It's like, come on, forget about it. The cast is phenomenal on this. It looks amazing. The story is very well written out for the script itself, and it's just a insanely great film. I don't own it, but maybe I will buy it at some point, because like I said, this is the best version of Dracula I've seen on film. There were actually moments that kind of reminded me a little bit of how The Company of Wolves was done from the 80s, which if you've seen some of my videos, you know how much I really adore that film, and I only saw it this year. But it's, yeah. So anyway, my most amazing pick, Bram Stoker's Dracula. I think it's an easy one. Now for my best So Bad It's Good film. I don't own this one, but at some point I'm going to. It's on my list to purchase. That is Hellmaster. And it may still be on Shudder. I don't know. Do you like John Saxon? Do you like terrible movies? Do you like So Bad It's Good movies with John Saxon? That's what this is. The story is pretty incomprehensible. You really don't even understand what's going on. It's literally a bunch of students at a school, and they may be trying to do something with telekinetics or psychic whatever. Like, it's hard to figure out what they meant the story to actually be in this film, because it like changes so much. Then there are these like weird mutant type people who show up. There's a kind of reanimator-esque goo that is used on these people, and there's evil. And it's a horror film. There's a lot of weird, trippy stuff that goes on in the film. There's a lot of left field stuff that just pops out of nowhere in this film. The acting's not that great, but John Saxon is, and it's a lot of fun, and it is terrible. But it is so amazingly terrible that you need to see it, and it's so good that I'm planning on owning it at some point. So my pick for the best So Bad It's Good film for 92, Hellmaster. Love that film. Most WTF. Now, some people may not see this coming, but really think about this one. Army of Darkness. And yes, this is the director's cut official bootleg version DVD that I bought a long time ago. I think it was when I was in college. This film, obviously an amazing film, continues what Evil Dead 2 started. And there's a lot of craziness in Evil Dead 2. But if you think about this film on its own for 1992 and just kind of comparing it to other films that are horror from 1992, it's pretty WTF. I mean, there's a lot of wacky stuff going on in this. First of all, a dude with a chainsaw for part of his arm is going back to medieval times. He's killing things with the chainsaw. He's throwing out all these funny one-liners. He's a very charming dude. It's very slapsticky, which is what Raimi turned the series into with the second Evil Dead film. And it's shot in a fun, interesting way. There's a crazy, gigantic battle. There's all sorts of weird things that happen during that battle. There's the weird thing where he's trying to get rid of take care of the Necronomicon, and he ends up in that, like, windmill, and then parts of his body fall out that become little hymns that start fighting him. It's a very, like, Gulliver's Travels type thing that goes on. But there's never a dull moment in it. There's a lot of left field WTF stuff that happens, and I think that Army of Darkness justifies very well for WTF pick for 92. So that's why Army of Darkness is my pick for WTF film. Now going on to the best gore. If you have looked at the roster of horror films that came out in 1992, you have to know which one has to be in this category. Although, I could also see someone put this in their most unique and even most amazing for some people. That film is Dead Alive. And yes, I just bought this DVD recently off eBay. I want it on Blu-ray, but the Blu-ray has been out of print for a while. It is insanely expensive to find that. And I got this still factory sealed for like less than $30, including shipping. So I was like, deal. I've been wanting to own this film for quite some time. If you have never seen Dead Alive, this was Peter Jackson's big film that got him started. It is an insane gore fest. I have never seen a film this packed with practical effects, gore, craziness from beginning to end. It gets started early, it goes nuts off the rails, and it just keeps going. This film feels like it's trying to outdo itself at every single turn, and it delivers an insane amount of flying body parts, an insane amount of blood just all over the place, and a lawnmower scene with lots of zombie-type creatures just being torn to shreds. This film embodies a gore pick. It 100% embodies a gore pick. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is a heavy hitter for overall for the entire 90s best gore. Just saying. If you've seen Dead Alive, you know. If you haven't seen Dead Alive, if you're into gore and practical effects, it is a must. It also just has this very unique kind of slapsticky feel to it, which I actually think Peter Jackson was inspired by The Evil Dead when he did it. So yeah, definitely check this one. Actually, Evil Dead 2, but definitely check this out if you haven't. But Dead Alive, my pick for 92's best gore. That one was the easiest, probably. Excuse me. Actually, I'm going to get a little water. Pause for horror hydration. So, the next category is the most unique. And I considered this film for most amazing, and had I not watched Bram Stoker's Dracula, it would have been my pick for most amazing, but I think it also fits extremely well for most unique. Now that is Candyman. Candyman. No, I'm not going to go all the way, don't worry. Insanely unique. Now, it's not just unique because of the story. Yes, it's kind of like a derivation of the Bloody Mary urban legend, but it totally changes the context of it. It totally changes what it's all about. The themes and the subtext at play in this film were kind of unheard of in a film like this at the time that it came out in 92. It is insanely unique for that reason. It was shot at Cabrini Green, which has a lot of importance within the film, you know, subtextual and overtly. It is amazing. Also, Tony Todd's performance as Candyman is insane. Oh, also, by the way, I'm not like giving you a synopsis of what it is, because I assume that even if you haven't seen it, you know at least enough about Candyman, and you must see it. If you haven't seen it, it's a must. It's a definite must. Tony Todd's turn as Candyman is unbelievable. Be my victim. That's all I got to say. When he says those words, the way he says it, it is something. It is chilling. And I think his turn as Candyman in this film is unique in itself. The way he chose to play that character and make it iconic, and it is still today, like Tony Todd goes to a lot of conventions and people still swarm his booth because of who he is and what he's done. I mean, this film stands on its own. It's insanely unique, but also, like I said, I almost picked it for most amazing for 92, and I don't blame anyone for picking it as most amazing. Wonderful acting in this overall as well. Very well shot. Love this film. Candyman, most unique. Don't have any more visual aids for the last two picks, just so you know. So my most overrated film is going to be Dust Devil. Now, this is a Richard Stanley film. I think this was Richard Stanley's first film, actually. I know there's been a lot of drama involved with stuff that happened with him recently, allegations, which I need to look into more to see what's going on with that, but not going to really touch on that for this. I believe Dust Devil was his first film. I heard really good things about it, and people do talk about it when Richard Stanley comes up. Hardware was his film that really put him on the map, but Dust Devil was a film that gets talked about a lot, and they're like, oh man, if you've seen Hardware, like, have you seen Dust Devil by him? And it's basically about a woman who's kind of being stalked by, they say, like, the tagline is basically like, he's not a serial killer, he's worse. The reason I think this is overrated is the film is very boring, in my opinion. Not a whole lot happens within it. May partially just be because of the fact that it's really low budget, but it is shot well, obviously, because that's what Stanley did. He was very good at filmmaking, from a visual standpoint, at least. And yeah, it's just boring. The pacing is terrible. It's very off. There aren't that many. There's an interesting concept to it, but what is done with the concept doesn't really amount to a whole lot. So for that reason, if you've seen Dust Devil, I'd be interested in your thoughts on it. But that was my best pick for most overrated for this year. Yeah, Dust Devil. And then my most underrated might catch some people by surprise. This is a film I have reviewed, and people were surprised I reviewed it. It is Death Becomes Her. It's a big budget film, but it is horror in the end of the day. It plays kind of, quirky and almost a tad bit humorous. I mean, there is actual humor in it. It has Meryl Streep, Bruce Willis, and Goldie Hawn as the main characters. So obviously the acting is great. The acting is phenomenal. It looks really good. It was a Robert Zemeckis film, so it's shot extremely well. The concept is really cool. It's literally about a guy who's torn between two women, and then death ends up happening, and death becomes the women because they use this serum, this kind of like life-extending serum that actually just keeps them from dying, but they can still inflict damage on each other, and they do. And it gets a little bit like slapsticky funny in that sense, but it's still very horror driven at the same time. And some of the things that they do to each other and some of the things that happen to their bodies, humorous, but also creepy and horrific at the same time. And excuse me, a lot of people just pass on this movie because it's a big budget horror-ish film, but I think it's a really good film. I think it's very underrated, and that's why I picked it as my most underrated film for 1992. Would love to hear from other people in the comments if you like Death Becomes Her. I think this one needs to get more traction. I think it may in the years to come, because, we keep digging things up in the horror community and being like, "Ooh, do you remember this one?" And then it gets more popular for a bit. But yeah, Death Becomes Her for my most underrated. Let me know what you think about my picks. Give me your picks. This is another thing that Uncle Pete and I like about doing this. Put your picks in our comments. You can even just put one comment on my page and paste it on his, or for my video in the comments, or vice versa. Write it up on his and paste it into mine. Sorry, getting really dry throat. But anyway, like I said, check his video out. Now that you've seen mine, come back, go to the community tab, and vote for who you like the most. Subscribe to both our channels, hit the notification bell button, all that jazz. Thank you for sticking with me for these. We've got a lot of fun coming in this series, and I hope you're enjoying it. It's going to be a blast. But thanks so much for checking this video out, and until next time, keep it brutal.